Hello there, Steve here in Sydney of the Lanosis website truebluehealer.com. I have become extremely angry toward Google products for trying to force me to engage in full disclosure. And one thing I didn't like was that YouTube is at the same time asking for feedback, yet they deliberately prevent you getting much feedback by jiggling the dialog box around that you can type your protests into. Google and YouTube are the same company, in case you don't know. And so a protest to one will reach the other. And so what I made up this very quick protest. It's about a 2-minute little read there, and I've made it into video for you. And it reflects my anger about being bullied like a farm animal. And I'll just run the video for you. And I had this ready, I pasted it in so they couldn't prevent my typing it, which they'd already done 2 or 3 times previously. So here it is now, just watch this, and then I'm going to tell you something about this.
Lesson in the need for privacy that out-of-control Google/YouTube sorely needs, in light of their continued attempts to bully everyone into displaying their full legal names for all to see. In New South Wales 30 years ago, it was possible to spot a car plate number, call the motor registry, and be told instantly, no questions asked, the name and residential address of the driver. It resulted in a steeply growing crime wave of identity theft, luxury cars stolen, rich women raped and murdered and robbed. This crime rate was greatly reduced when the motor registry stopped handing out names and addresses to anonymous callers. The practice is wisely carried on today by TV stations, blanking out number plates. We all agree with this, correct? That small amount of privacy afforded by motor registries gave drivers, 30 years ago, some real protection from predators. The wisdom of that mild privacy retention is evidence that a thin veil of privacy has considerable protective value. It became law. And suddenly privacy became a valued commodity valued by everybody. But Google wants to smash it. Just like the predators. Even the criminals who pistol whipped my wife while I was held at gunpoint have privacy rights while in prison. So why can't I have a thin veil of privacy from predators? It helps. People still pay good money for silent phone numbers. Not to be in the public directory. Is that okay with you? And you, Mr. Anonymous Google, reading this, I invite you to converse with me via email or YouTube blogging, and to please apply your full name and address and phone number, like you think everyone else should. And also include the names and ages of your children. I like conversing with children online. Younger the better. And I just love photography. Now don't hide anything. Don't be bashful. I'm a Catholic priest. So you can trust me, yours sincerely.
Now, having typed off that very hastily thought up protest, my anger was great. I got to thinking about what are the Google people actually trying to do. They're basically trying to make us all wear our name wherever we go all over the internet, you see. And I want to point out to you, and I'll challenge you, I'll ask you for your advice on this. I can't think of a single nation, state, society or tribe in the history of the world since the invention of writing that has forced its citizens to wear their full legal name on their clothing to take away their anonymity. It has never been done by North Korea, Communist China, Fascist Italy, East Germany with the Stasi, Nazi Germany. I can't think of any society. I mean, there are some pretty draconian societies in South America. The Aztecs and the Mayas were very strict societies with daily executions and stuff like that. But I've never heard of anyone being forced in any of these societies, or Greek city-states, for example, to have their full legal name emblazoned on their clothing to take away their anonymity. Now there's a very powerful message in that it's universal throughout history since the invention of writing about 2,500 years ago, I believe. It's a lot of nations and a lot of languages and a lot of writing systems, and it's unprecedented for any society, no matter how draconian and cruel and nasty it is, to want to take away and actually try to implement the taking away of people's anonymity they normally carry around with them. It is just unprecedented for anyone to insist that we should carry our full legal name on our clothing wherever we go, so it's always perceived. Now, just wait, there's more to this. It's bigger than you think, and it's something that doesn't seem to impinge on the awareness of many people until you think about it. And it sort of goes like this. If something is virtually universal, that we all have this anonymity where we don't reveal our family details, family connections, our clan connections, unless we want to and are required to for social reasons, that sort of thing, and there's mutual advantage typically involved. You have this level of secrecy. You're allowed to keep your name to yourself, you see. Now, it's universal throughout history in every culture. Now, this means something. The meaning is that it's probably a genetic, physically ordained predisposition in your brain material. It's probably installed by evolution. You'd be hard-pressed to say it's not an evolutionary development installed in us for our protection, for our harmony, that sort of thing. If you just think about it, we must have some kind of psychic barrier around our minds, otherwise all our thoughts would jumble together. We'd all be reading each other's thoughts, and that would be chaotic and society couldn't function. So we have this sense of aloneness that we all have that we equate with self, don't we? There's a barrier around your head protecting you psychically from the thoughts of other people. Generally people don't read your mind. You only tell them what you want them to know with your mouth by speaking or in writing. Now, and there's a timing aspect to that, isn't there? Let's keep that in mind. So, evolution has seen fit to install in us people all over the planet for at least since the age of writing began 2,500 years ago, and probably a long time before that. This sense of aloneness, this sense of self, that this is me. And anonymity has been endowed by evolution too. Because no animal is born with its name emblazoned on its skin, is it? Think about that. Now, I can't think of any society in history, the cruelest societies haven't done it. North Korea doesn't do it today. There's no history of it in the 20th century of the most despotic regimes, from forcing people to give up their anonymity in favour of their full legal name emblazoned on their chest, to take that vital part of their existence away from them. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that Google trying to take it away from you, and it's a natural genetic endowment in you almost certainly, and it's almost certainly put there by evolution. The Google product people who want everyone to have their identity emblazoned upon their identity on YouTube is going against the natural order of things in a massive way, never contemplated, never even attempted to be implemented in any previous culture. You've got to think about this and give it some serious thought, people. I'm saying that this anonymity thing that we all carry around is part of our personal identity and our separation from others. I think you might agree with that. And the fact that Google wants to do it to possibly 100 million people means that Google is actually committing a severe violation here that we could call a crime against humanity. They're trying to head kick you, and they're trying to treat you like a farm animal where options are narrowed and narrowed and narrowed, like you're being corralled into a narrower and narrower corral to improve the domestication of you. I don't know how you feel about being domesticated, but being sort of like living in a farming situation isn't all bad. There's some benefits. Living all by yourself on a desert island and producing everything yourself is very difficult. You move into a city, you have to give some of your individuality away. There's conventions, politeness, that kind of thing. But no one's ever thought in the history of the world, as far as I can remember, I've never heard archaeologists digging up a society where every citizen had their name emblazoned across their chests by law, or by convention, by dictate from any commercial or legal organisation. So I hope I'm bringing something to your attention that you haven't thought about, and I want you to write some angry letters. Now you have them ready. You've got to have them ready. You don't let them just let you write a couple of lines and then they jigger the screen so you can't keep typing. So give them a big serve, a full serve. Tell them what you think of their inhumane treatment of people on the internet. It's about time we got organised in this, and I think we can win with just enough feedback into those YouTube boxes. I'll write directly to Google if you know where the hell they are, but they're always playing anonymous games, aren't they? They're all going to remain anonymous while you have to be outed, apparently for Google's good. It's getting a bit too authoritarian for my point of view, for my liking, and I'm beginning to wonder, do I really need Google products? Can I live without Gmail? Hell yes. I'm getting so weary of them reading all my emails and putting ads in my face while I'm typing. I'm getting heartily sick of that. Google Earth, well, I could live without that. Google products I don't use much at all. I'll be very happy to go back to Outlook Express. I've still got the old discs somewhere. Somehow I managed for years with Outlook Express. I'll happily go back to that to avoid being bullied by Google into revealing all my personal details. Now I'll just give you a story of a little personal adventure I had. My 1-ton van broke down 12 o'clock at night. The timing belt broke. The vehicle stopped middle of the road and I pushed the vehicle into a nearby garage. Daylight, the first thing I went round in the morning and I talked to the mechanic. Okay, young fellow. We talked to each other for a good 5 or 10 minutes. We exchanged information. Very useful conversational exchange it was. He told me prices, how long it would take, when the truck would be ready, that sort of thing. We chatted about how hard it was to get spare parts for some makes of cars, etc. I then, it suddenly dawned on me then that I had just had a conversation with another person and we were both anonymous toward each other. Somehow we survived. In fact, we both enjoyed the conversation. Without knowing each other's names, birth dates, astrology signs or personal profiles. Somehow we managed to do this. Now this has been going on for thousands of years. Anyway, flushed with success, I then went into the counter, the petrol station counter, and there was a lovely lady behind the counter, and we had something else. We had a conversation. Can you believe it? We had a conversation. We talked about my leaving the keys for a tow truck driver to pick up my vehicle and take it somewhere else for repairs. And we made a little joke. She giggled. And I was very impressed by the results of that conversation and happy to get my car fixed somewhere else, very ably transported somewhere else by a truck driver. And guess what? I never knew her name. And she didn't know mine, and I didn't know her birthday, and she didn't know my birthday, and I didn't know her Google profile, and she didn't know my Google profile. We were complete strangers, yet we had a very useful, productive conversation. May I suggest that many of our conversations are actually anonymous, such as we have with shopkeepers and stuff like that, people at work. You don't need to know who that person is talking to. It's just a voice on the phone. So probably 50% of all our conversations are actually anonymous and still very productive and useful. Now, on the internet, that's not to be tolerated anymore by Google products. they're going to change the way we think, the way we operate. You're going to be outed to suit their needs, because they're farming all your personal details. You produce details, they resell them. They steal every detail you can. I really think Gmail, Google, YouTube have gone way too far with trying to abolish anonymity, because it's a major part of our birthright as humans. It's so universal. It's obviously installed by evolution a long time ago, and there's clearly a need for it. Apparently all this came from somebody called Randy Zuckerberg, who's a relative in the organisation with Mark Zuckerberg, the beginner of Facebook, who just decided that because of the unsavoury behaviour of a few people on Facebook, that everyone on the planet would have to do this full legal name outing and wear their full legal name on their identity on the internet from now on. I mean, what a preposterous, silly overreaction to what? A few angry emails, rude words written somewhere? What a preposterous overreaction, overturning, subtracting a major part of our conversational methods that we have between anonymous people. A gross overreaction, and I'm thinking they're beginning to regret it, because they're asking for feedback, and I'm hoping you're going to give it to them. And I can understand a few computer nerds who just got fabulously rich by accident making this social gaffe, not realising the importance and how many of our conversations are in fact anonymous. Now, I'm not finished yet. I've got some more stuff to remind you of, some things that we all tend to forget as the years go by, and it goes like this. Most movie stars don't use their real names. Most actors and singers use names that are designed to create a certain impression in you, like Rip Torn, for example, Charlton Heston, names like that. None of these people have those ordinary names. Their real names are probably Fred Bloggs and Joe Brown and stuff like that. So having a mundane name and being forced to use it really cramps your style and doesn't guarantee success. For centuries, authors and poets have used pen names because they don't want their real name to be known for a wide variety of reasons. It can create the wrong impression in a reader that you're of another religion, another race, another group, another nationality. So you use a bland name, okay, or a name that doesn't offend anybody. And it's all done for good reason, good safe reasons, and good sound reasons. In Australia, racial segregation is so bad, a lot of Greek people switch their names to Anglo-Saxon names and use it because so they get less discrimination against them by the Australian federal government and state governments. It's quite surprising. That came out a few years ago. An Anglo-Saxon name, you don't get bullied by social securities. If you have a non-Anglo-Saxon name, they treat you quite differently, right? So there's good reasons to change your name, not to use your native name that you were born with. Now there's a wonderful irony here. It's all about control, and a book called 1984 was written by a man called George Orwell, famous man, and he wrote this book, and in fact he wouldn't be allowed to use Google products today because that wasn't his real name. His real name was Eric Blair, you see, so he would be prevented from doing that. Which is wonderfully ironic, isn't it, don't you think? Isn't that amazingly ironic that the man who wrote 1984 wouldn't be allowed to use his pen name on the internet today the way Google intends? Absolutely astonishing. And talking about, he wrote the book, I think someone wrote the book Animal Farm of a similar nature, and the character Winston in 1984 was given the metaphor, if you want a metaphor of the human race in the future, it's a boot crushing a human face. That's the future of humanity, Winston. the hero was told in George Orwell's book. Now, it's not far off what Google products are trying to do. They're trying to cut a piece of humanity out of all of us, which is our normal right we are born with, that is to anonymity. Okay, so it's been used by authors and poets for hundreds of years, and all sorts of people to great benefit, great advantage. And all of a sudden, sweeping, foolish, thoughtless generalisation by a handful of execs from Facebook and Google are jumping to salute and carry out the orders. And Google's aggressive support of what the Zuckerberg casually says in a speech makes you think that maybe it isn't, maybe they're just advertising it, bannering, pervading it, and maybe it's the US military who is the owners and controllers of Google who are actually doing this. Because Google and Yahoo were always military organisations. They've never been anything else. So it's probably not really Zuckerberg's idea. He's probably just the mouthpiece. Okay, he's probably just the mouthpiece for this concept. Now, I hope I've given you some ideas here about what you can do, what you can write about, and I hope you write up a nasty letter, have it ready, and keep pasting it in, and write different letters. Write 3 letters, 4 letters. Start complaining, because I'm going to tell you something, that anything is legal if it can be established by precedent. If it carries on for a certain period of time, it's legal. And things carry on if they're not protested. So you're being corralled into a narrower living space, you are being farmed, closer reins, closer bridle on you for your behaviour, more and more domesticated, to your personal detriment, I am certain. Now, a lot of you might be wrongly thinking that you can't win, that you're just one little person and you do like using Google products, and therefore, you know, on Monday morning they could just publish your name, and there's not much point in fighting it. Now, this is quite wrong. Quite wrong. I'll give you wisdom from Plato. Was a long time ago that the grassroots people can't really do anything or have anything new, like a new technology or a new social conduct or anything like that, unless it's enabled by the elites. Plato said that in ancient Greek times, okay? And there's a lot of evidence throughout human history that elites do control which way the grassroots are allowed to develop, okay? However, I'm going to point out to you a severe exception to that, which was the rise of the internet, and in particular YouTube and the uploading of music, which drove the elites to insanity, thinking the world was coming to an end. It really tipped their boat, didn't it? It really rocked their boat. And what saved YouTube and kept a lot of people not being prosecuted was good old-fashioned greed of the elites. Greed. So eventually lawyers realised you could make money, because I was actually uploading music that was 40 and 50 years old and not on sale anymore. Therefore it was a lost resource, earning no revenue. And some of my videos now of a French singer have more than 1 million views, and that's earned a lot of advertising revenue for quite a few people. So it's not all wrong that we are disobedient. We changed copyright law, we changed the social behaviour of uploading music. Significant elite companies came to the party and grew, they changed, they bent to suit the new modern situation. So that was a hell of a lot of feedback from a whole lot of disobedient people. Okay, in fact, millions of disobedient people all over the internet. Now, we can achieve the same sort of goal by getting enough feedback heaped back onto the Google people who wanted overly domesticate us all by basically tagging us RFID tagging us all over the internet. So we've lost that wonderful piece of our humanity, which is that anonymity we all have, not to give up our name until we decide to do it when it's socially advantageous, which is what we do when we meet people, isn't it? I don't have to explain that to anybody, but these computer nerds don't seem to know about it. Stuff we take in our stride and have done for thousands of years. We release our name when it's appropriate in our connection to another person, don't we? And we make that decision, nobody else. All right? It's taking away our individuality, control of our own lives, by forcing us to wear our names and birth dates and profile emblazoned on our virtual t-shirts on the internet. And that's what Google would have you do at the behest of seemingly the US military. So don't think it's a daunting task and you can't win. People power wins. Enough people make enough protests, so have some nasty letters written and whack them into those feedback boxes on YouTube. They're asking for it, give it to them. So get typing, guys. And I'll just say one more thing. Greed can come to our rescue, capitalist, elitist greed, because it's likely to go the way of another network will set up another YouTube, another Gmail, something else, where they don't steal all your details and allow you to use anonymous logins after all. And the power of competition and Google losing money will probably cause them to drop the policy. So entrepreneurs will come to fill the gap as usual, and we can always depend on the greed of entrepreneurs and the greed of the losers, can't we, to change the policy very quickly. So all they really need is a whole lot of feedback from angry letter writers. So get typing, people.